Hey y'all, it's Zoe and welcome back to another video on my channel. Today I'm doing yet another Fulbright crash course video, which I haven't done in a while, but I know that they are on winter break right now, and so I wanted to make a little video about leave forms, winter break forms, and also some things that kind of came up during my grant year, just to kind of give you a heads up on how all of that works. I just want to preface this video by saying that this is how it was when I was an ETA, which was the 23-24 academic year. So obviously, depending when you're watching this video, some things may change, but most things should hopefully stay the same. So in terms of leave, for the whole year you are there, which is from August to June, school starts around the end of August and ends at the end of June. You are allowed 5 personal days and 7 sick days, if I'm remembering correctly. And that's like official with Fulbright. Obviously, depending on your situation, depending on who you are, depending on your school, some people may end up taking more days off than that and just not report it. But that is technically a breach of our contract. We are supposed to be there for as many of our grant days as possible. So the way that the sick days and the leave days work, you just fill out a little form that they give you at the beginning of the year. It's usually, at least mine was in a Google Drive, and so you just fill it out. Usually they're gonna ask for like your contact info and where you're gonna be, mostly just for your safety, and then like the reason why you're out. So like when my mom and sister came to visit me, I put that we would just be in Taipei. I gave them my contact info, and then I said like I'm leaving because I'm spending time with family for the holidays, and that was it. And then your school is going to sign off on it, and then you're going to give it to your coordinators, and it's going to go in. There's this little web system that has the list of all of the days that you were absent from work. So that is that. And then I kind of mentioned this in like one of my other crash course videos, but you are technically not allowed to leave the country besides the winter break period. They are very generous, and they give you a very long winter break because it usually goes right into Lunar New Year break. Ours was like around almost 3 weeks, but the form itself is only for 2 weeks out of the country. So that does not include weekends. So if you want to like finagle that how you can, that is how that works. Obviously, again, I had some friends who stayed out longer than that 2-week period, but on the form, like you are only supposed to be gone for 2 weeks. So when you fill out that form, you list the country or countries you're going to, the dates you're going to be gone. And they highly recommend that you fill out this form before you buy your plane tickets. And the reason why is because you need to wait for their approval. I have never known anyone to not get approved to go to a certain country. I knew people who went all over East and Southeast Asia for winter break, people that went back home to the US, and people that went to Europe. So I have not known of a country that someone didn't get approved to travel to. But of course, again, things change. The political climate can change on what countries they feel are like good to travel. But that is why they say to wait for your plane tickets. If you can, I would recommend coming up with a group in like October, November, so that you can fill out that form and buy those tickets before it gets too expensive. I also have a recommendation that you fly with people you know, travel with people you know. I traveled with one person I knew and then 2 other people that I didn't know as well. I think it's definitely helpful when if you've traveled with them before, if you've hung out with them before and you kind of know what their style of travel and their personality is like. And then I also created a schedule for every country we went to, like day by day what we were gonna do, and trying to incorporate people's like interests and what they wanted to do and where they wanted to go as well. So just make sure that you are kind of all in agreement on where you go, what you're gonna do. Obviously, you don't always have to stay together. Like when I went to Singapore, we split off a lot, but just make sure that you're all kind of on the same page for that. And then if you need to leave the country for like an emergency reason, so I had a lot of friends who might have needed to go to funerals, and then I had some friends who needed to go to a wedding. Weddings sadly are not deemed as emergencies. So if you do end up needing to go to a wedding, it probably will count towards your leave days. And from what I remember is they wanted a letter. They wanted a letter that detailed out how important it was for you to be at that wedding. So one of my friends had to have her like cousin or sister or whatever write a letter about how important she was to the bridal party, like the wedding party, to let her go. And then on the other side, with like funerals and other family emergencies, you would think that they would that they would approve that. But I did know of a person in my program who was going through a really tough family situation with a grandparent, and that grandparent did end up passing away. And before she could leave the country, they wanted her to prove his death. And so that was definitely difficult. And then I had a friend who got a job near the end of her grant period, and they wanted her back in the States about a month early so she could do training and didn't have to do it asynchronously and like wake up at like 3 a.m. and do this online training. So she had to talk with them about letting her leave early. And basically what happened was they didn't give her last month's paycheck, but she still had to pay for the rent for that place. And they also did not pay for her flight home. So usually they will pay for your flights to Taiwan and back to the US, but when you come back to the US, you have to do it starting at a certain point. So it's like, I think it's like a week before your grant ends is when they're gonna start paying for your flight, unless you have some kind of other emergency. So again, they can be just, this like video is just to tell you about what I have heard people's experiences are. Not everyone will have these experiences, and it's very possible that things will change as the program kind of evolves. But I just wanted to make this video so that you all are aware that if you end up needing to take leave for anything, they might not always be as accommodating as you would hope for them to be. Again, this may change with changing in staffing that may happen, or how their whole leave process works. But that was at least my friends' experiences. I never had any bad experiences because I never had a reason to leave the country besides winter break traveling. So I did not have any personal experiences with that. And luckily my school was very nice about letting me take days off for when my family was here. And also, like, there was one day where I woke up sick, and so I texted them the morning of and told them I would be taking a sick day. So my school was very accommodating about that. Again, it really depends on the school that you're in. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, those are your set days for the year. They do not roll over. One person told me that it was possible they did some kind of like award for like who had the most presence, like who was at like the least amount of absences. I don't know if that's true because my cohort didn't do anything like that, but who knows, maybe other cohorts do something like that. Yeah, but I mean, the form is pretty straightforward, so you just kind of have to like read it and fill it in. And again, you're gonna be getting approval before it's like fully approved. And if something like that happens where like they're not letting you leave and you have like a legitimate reason to leave, just talk to them. Hopefully they will be compliant with you. And depending on like your situation, like honestly, depending on what it is, just leave. Like, threaten to just leave. I mean, obviously, like, I feel like if there was a death in my family and they didn't let me go home, I would threaten to, like, leave and terminate my contract. Like, sure, like, you don't have to pay me anymore. Like, that's fine. But, like, I need to go home. I need to be with my family. I need to do this, that, and the other. So, just make sure that you are advocating for yourself and that you are trying to do your best. And, like, if they don't pay for certain things or if they make you do something, like, whatever it takes to get you where you need to be is my recommendation to you. You might think that's a little insane and a little, like, crazy, but, like, family situations are important and you deserve to be there if you need to be there. So that is my 2 cents on the leave forms and trying to leave Taiwan. They will end up sending you like a return flight form in like February or March, just so that they book the flights for you. So it's good to know when you're gonna leave. One experience I did have that was really positive was my flight that was originally for the end of July. I was able to get that switched to the end of June very easily. I contacted the travel agents and I contacted the airlines, and they switched that for me so that I could come home easily. So that is one positive thing that I will say about that. But they were super nice and very accommodating for that specific reason. I think it was because I was leaving after my grant was over, so I didn't have any like major problems, but during grant is when it gets a little bit tricky. You don't have as many days off in the second semester, so you might, if you haven't already, I would just save most of your leave days for the second semester, because you might want to take mental health days or things like that with less time off. So that is my little 2 cents on that. If you have any questions on that, let me know. And if you have any other Fulbright related questions, like, or videos you want me to make, just feel free to comment them down below, because I don't really have any other crash course videos in mind unless something happens or like I think of something. So yeah, that is pretty much all for today's video. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in next week's video, which I'm trying to remember what I said was going to be in next week's video and I forgot. So I'm just gonna see you in next week's video. Bye.